Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Forum's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. Daily Racing Forum handicappers Mike Beer, Matt Bernier, and I will take a look back at Justify's Belmont Stakes victory as he became the 13th American Triple Crown winner. We'll also do some handicapping. The Grade 2 Summertime Oaks for 3-year-old fillies at Santa Anita is your DRF Bet Saturday race of the day, and we have 2 Breeders' Cup Win and Your In races to discuss: the Grade 1 Stephen Foster and the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis Handicap. JK's Play of the Day, a Pick 5 at Santa Anita. David Aragona's Time Form US Spotlight, the Dancin' Renee Stakes, the feature race on Belmont's Saturday card. And Nicole Russo will look at a wide open edition of the Regret Stakes at Churchill Downs. Plus best bets, tournament talks, and lots more. So let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our Hot Topic segment. No hotter topic than Justify becoming the 13th American Triple Crown winner, but perhaps not without some controversy. Guys, in the days leading up to the race, we talked about all this common ownership and how it might affect the rides in this race. And after the Belmont Stakes was run, there were some owners, there were some fans, there were some analysts that were a little confused by some of the rides. Let's break from the gate and talk about this real quick. Let's stop it right here. The horses we want to look at are, of course, the number 1 Justify, who broke inside and fast from his rail post position. The number 6 Gronkowski, like many European trained horses, did not break very fast. The 5 Restoring Hope didn't break very well, but we expected him to be forward. And the number 9 Noble Indy, second to the outside, he was expected to be on the lead. Let's roll the tape going into the first turn. And Mike, what's going on here with the 5 Restoring Hope?
I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, you saw that he didn't break that great, and then Florence Giroux went to a ride there to get him forward. And then once he got forward, I guess he didn't want to be forward anymore. In a lot of ways, he's sort of like a let's call him a bizarro rabbit. He didn't want to go up there and press Justify in the lead, so it looked like Giroux took him out to the 5 path, I think, to stay away from Justify.
Let's freeze it right here and talk about Noble Indy a little bit, because Javier Castellano, Matt, received a little bit of flack for not going right to the front. Now, I thought he was trying to be aggressive. If you watch the head-on, Noble Indy did break. He looked to his inside to see where Justify was, but when he saw that Restoring Hope not only was being hustled out of there by Giroux, but stayed to the far outside, I didn't think there was anything Noble Indy could do. If he stayed on a dead scent, he would have been forced extremely wide and would have had to have gone 22 and change to secure the lead.
Well, but I guess that's kind of the crux of the whole thing. If the instruction is to make the front at all costs, you make the front at all costs, regardless of what the situation is, ground loss, whatever it may be, because you realize you're not trying to win the race. You're essentially trying to help set things up for Vino Rosso. I don't want to totally say that Javier was in the wrong here, but at the same time, if the instruction was to clear at all costs, you kind of have to clear at all costs.
But was Noble Indy's intent to set things up for Vino Rosso as we roll the tape, or was he not being sent to help things out for Justify because they both have common ownership in Windstar?
Well, I mean, I understand the Windstar piece, but it seems like Mike Rapoli, who I don't know what the percentages are of the 2 ownership groups, it seems like he was the one that wanted Vino Rosso to obviously have a big chance in here. And the only way that he really did was to have Noble Indy go to the front.
Mike, we're heading down the backstretch now, and Mike Smith had to go a little quick with Justify to secure this lead of 23 1/5 seconds. But we see that Restoring Hope is applying the most token of pressure at all. And Smith, I think, kind of wins the race here. He's slowing it down to a half in 48 seconds as we pause the tape.
Yeah, he went a fast opening quarter to make sure he got the front, and then he was able to back it down with nobody really coming after him. In a lot of ways, he got a perfect trip and ride in this race. To me, I understand there was some shenanigans going on early. To me, the real controversy of the race was when they drew entries for it, and all of the good 3-year-olds elected not to run. The big advantage Justify had in this race was he was just better than these horses, and he got the right trip and ride, and it's from this point on, this isn't really a close race.
I agree completely. Let's roll it one more time. Mike Smith, Matt, again, backed it down to 48, but I really love what he did when he just passed the 6 furlong pole. I love what he did when he hits the half-mile pole, because he really showed that Justify is kind of a horse that you can do anything with. You can push the button and he'll go, and then you can take his reins and hold him back, and he will listen to command. fans. Smith right here is going to try to win the race, and after the race he said he wanted to open the race up early, and some fans thought he was moving too early, that it was a Kent DeZormo real quiet situation, but he wanted these other jockeys on the chase, and it really hurt the horses stalking. Here comes Gronkowski from the back of the pack.
Yeah, and I think that was really the key, because the horses that he needed to beat his main competition were the Vino Rossos and the Hofbergs of the world, and little did we know Gronkowski would run as well as he did, but they were coming from much farther out of it. If you can get some space between you, some separation, and the rest of the competition, you've got a major advantage.
So, Mike, we turn to the stretch now. Smith opened up on the turn, then took Justify in hand, gave him a little bit of a breather while everyone else was on the chase, and here comes Gronkowski, who really benefited, I guess, from those other horses getting tired chasing Justify on the turn. He makes a really good, solid run at Justify, but Justify is just in another league.
Yeah, this is just, one of those, and Gronkowski did run an excellent race in here. He got a very good ride in here. After blowing the start, Jose Ortiz did everything right and gave this horse every chance. That was the proverbial never catching Justify in that race. Justify was much the best there. Gronkowski did very well to be second.
So let's address the controversy. Is there any controversy, Matt? Would it have mattered if Restoring Hope decided to go out there instead of Blazing Pace? Would it have mattered if Noble Indy was on a dead scent? We'd never know. But I think the best horse won the Belmont. The best horse won the Triple Crown.
I think the people complaining are people that either lost money or just wanted to see something else happen and didn't want to have a Triple Crown winner. The best horse had the best trip in this race, but guess what? When you're out on the front end, it's hard to argue with saying that you didn't have the best trip. I think it's just an instance where if somebody else wanted to go, they could have gone. I continue to go back to that. I understand probably you'd have to go faster than you wanted to, but if you wanted to go, you could have gone, and nobody did.
And Mike already has said that the biggest controversy was at the entry box, where the best 3-year-olds were not entered against Justify, sort of giving him an easy path once he broke and got to an easy lead, an easy trip in the Belmont Stakes. Hopefully we'll see Justify against tougher competition later this year. Bob Baffert says they're going to keep going on with this undefeated phenom. Now let's get to some handicapping. The Saturday DRF Bets Race of the Day, the Summertime Oaks, is next. Let's take a look at the field for Saturday's DRF Bets Race of the Day. It's the Summertime Oaks, a grade 2 for 3-year-old fillies at Santa Anita, carded as race number 6. $200,000 is the purse. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com, and for expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races all weekend long, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike Chocolate Martini is the favorite in this race, but let's talk about Bob Baffert's entrant. That's the second choice, the number 1, 13 Squared. I feel like there could be a pace presence in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she has to be in this race. I think the best chance that 13 Squared has to win this race is just to go to the front. She has speed, and she has a perfect post down on the rail. I know that she's 0 for 4 in stakes races so far. A couple of those races against Midnight Bisou, who's just a better horse than she is. They got to try and use her speed from the rail. We'll
go back to her race on the Santa Isabel. This is her career best Beyer performance when she finished second to Midnight Bisou, a 90 Beyer speed figure. Matt, coincidence that it came on a wet track?
I don't think so. Boy, you see she's run 8 times. The only time she's run on this wet track is far and away the best race of her career. Otherwise, you're left with a bunch of mid to high 70 Beyers. To me, she's going to need to step her game up even to win this race on Saturday.
She should be forwardly placed from the inside, but we do have a stretch out sprinter that should show some speed. You're very intrigued, Matt, with Ollie's Candy, despite the fact that it's first time dirt, first time stakes company, first time route.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I just wanted a fresh face in here. We're going to go back and take a look at the run up at Golden Gate. I have to be honest with you. It's a scenario where it's not so much that I think she may be some superior talent, but I just want a fresh face in here. I don't trust any of the girls that have experience, and I think Ollie's Candy is an interesting new shooter coming in from Northern California.
Yeah, I sort of felt the same way about it. This is her most recent win. I mean, she obviously won this race very easily. It won't be this easy for her on Saturday. She's got to stretch it out. I'm hoping that she can do it. She's got a little pedigree to go long.
She does have some pedigree to go long. There's no doubt about it, being by Candy Ride. It'll be very interesting to see how this race shakes up if the 1 and the 6 decide to hook it up. I went with the 5, Chocolate Martini. She's the filly to beat. It's been kind of a long and winding road for Chocolate Martini, once claimed for $25,000, a graded stakes winner at the fairgrounds, and I thought she ran okay with a very nice trip and ride in the Kentucky Oaks last time out. Javier did nothing wrong. He saved every inch of ground, and he was actually right in behind Mona Moy Girl when the field swung into the stretch, but she was no match for Mona Onamoy girl in that field in the final quarter mile. This is an easier group. I think if the 1 and the 6 go at it early, it sets things up for Chocolate Martini, who's in very good form, for trainer Tom Amos. Nicole Russo's pedigree pick segment focuses on the Regret Stakes, a wide open field of 3-year-old filly turf horses at Churchill Downs. Peter Thomas Fornatel's got all the latest news and notes in his Tournament Talk segment. Let's hit him right now.
Hey everyone, Nicole Russo coming to you for Out of the Gate to take a look at Saturday night's Regret Stakes, part of a big card at Churchill Downs. Here's the field, a field of 13 3-year-old fillies on the lawn under the lights at Churchill. And toward the outside on the second slide here for this field, you'll see 2 fillies making their stakes debuts, Romantic Moment and Stave, both of whom should offer some nice value and both from nice turf families. Now, Romantic Moment coming in off of back-to-back wins at the 1 1/8 distance of the Regret, most recently this Keeneland Allowance, a great turf filly behind this flatter filly with a lot of success at Churchill in particular. Her dam Kiss the Devil won the Grade 3 Mint Julep on the Churchill course. Her half-sister Kiss Moon also won the Mint Julep, and another half-sister, Kiss Mine, was graded placed on the Churchill grass. You've got to expect Romantic Moment to take to this course, and she should offer some nice value. Now, Stave also coming into the Regret off back-to-back wins, including this impressive maiden performance at Keeneland, in which she stalked and pounced with a vengeance, came back with a nice win on the Churchill turf. The daughter of versatile sayer Ghost Sapper, out of Grade 2 winner By the Barrel, who did all her best work on dirt, winning 4 stakes, but she is a stakes producer on turf already, with a Group 3 place daughter in England to her credit. It's the extended family of a lot of very useful turf stakes performers, one of those being Demarcation, a graded stakes winner on the Churchill turf. Certainly no surprise that Stave has found a home on turf. Thanks for tuning in this week on Out of the Gate as we move into summer racing. And for now, let's get you over to Peter for Tournament Talk.
Peter Thomas Fornatel back with you on Out of the Gate, here right next to the Santa Monica Pier in beautiful Los Angeles, California, out here working on the pilot episode of the World Horse Players Tour. Very excited to be announcing a event where the show is going to premiere during Saratoga Springs, Wednesday, August 8th. Look for more information soon about the World Horse Players Tour premiere event. If you are a watcher of Out of the Gate and a consumer of Daily Racing Form content, you are invited, and the party is going to be a lot of fun. That is a great week to be in Saratoga. If you come the weekend before, you can catch the Whitney Stakes, one of the signature races of the whole Saratoga meeting. Then Monday and Tuesday in the Fasig-Tipton Sales Pavilion, you're going to have the Select Sale. That's the big one. People come from all over the country to play what Harvey Pack calls Rich Man's Bingo at the sales. Then Wednesday, also at the Pavilion, you've got us in the World Horse Players Tour event. Then later in the week, the Saratoga Tournaments. Bit of a renaissance with the Saratoga Tournaments this year. Years ago, they were very popular. It was a 2-day mythical money event. Last few years, they've gone to a live bankroll format, 2 different live bank contests. This year, it's still 2 different contests, but the big news, it's moved to the weekend. Going to be better racing, more exciting, lots of fun. Friday, a $1,000 buy-in. Saturday, a $2,000 buy-in. And you can qualify now at DRF tournaments. Make your summer plans for Saratoga. Now that we're through the Triple Crown, time to look ahead to the summer meets. Speaking of the summer meets, also Del Mar with a big contest this summer. Both of them, you can get involved and play on DRF tournaments to win your way in. They start for as little as $22. Go to tournaments.drf.com to check it out today. That's all I have from the Santa Monica Pier. Peter Thomas Fornatel. Stay tuned for more Out of the Gate.
horse player looking to raise your game? For over 120 years, expert handicappers have relied on Daily Racing Form as their must-have source for news and data, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures, Timeform US pace figures, and integrated replays. DRF Formulator is the most powerful handicapping tool on the market today. Use what the pros use. Go to drf.com/formulator and enter code DRFTV to get your first card free. drf.com. Raise your game.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's take a look at the field for the Grade 1 $500,000 Stephen Foster Handicap. A win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic, carded as race number 8 at Churchill Downs. For expanded stakes previews of all the graded stakes races all weekend long, head on over to video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, Backyard Heaven is 6-5 on the morning line, trying 1 1/8 for the first time. His merits are obvious on paper.
Yeah.
You've always been a big fan of Honorable Duty, however. This horse was second to Gun Runner in this race last year. He's going to be a price, and it looks like he's getting back to form.
Yeah, things went awry for him at the end of last year. His last 2 starts weren't great, but one of them was in the slop. He's not a very good wet track horse. He's much better on faster. 8 for 11 on faster in his career. He loves Churchill Downs, and 1 1/8 is a good distance for him. This is a horse who ran several good races early last year before things went off form for him at the end of the year. His form at the start of the year was very good, and he can do it a lot of different ways. You want to put him on the lead, he'll run fine that way. You want to take him back off the pace, he'll run fine that way. He's got the rail. I think he gets a trip in this race, and he's going to be a price.
Matt, you never know what you're going to get out of Irish War Cry. You're hoping you get the Irish War Cry that showed up at Pimlico last time.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at that stretch run right now, the Pimlico Special. I think it's a scenario where if you're Jose Ortiz, you got to send him. You got to be aggressive, put him out there, maybe not outright on the lead, but pressuring the lead throughout, because this horse, I don't think there's any coincidence. His best races come going 2 turns when he's either outright on the lead or pressuring the lead throughout. I don't want him getting too cute and sitting off of a target. Go on with it. And you know what? If you're not good enough, so be it. But I think if he runs a race like he did here at Pimlico, chance.
I respect Backyard Heaven a lot. I respect Irish War Cry a lot. I wonder if those two may compromise each other on the lead a little bit. And there could be some other speed with Uncle Mojo. And I'm going to give Pavel one more chance for trainer Doug O'Neill. We're going to go back to, I believe it was his San Pasquale at Santa Anita, where he had all kinds of trouble. Let's watch that race right now. As you see, he's in behind horses. He is angling to the outside, just looking for any kind of room. Now he gets to the outside, but he spent most of the stretch just weaving and wandering and running sideways. He actually runs pretty well in this race to finish 4th. After this start, sort of a questionable decision to run him in the Dubai World Cup. He wasn't going to win anyway, but being widest and trying to come from off the pace on that track didn't work out. And last time out, he wasn't bet like he was a hot horse. He was bet like a horse real cold on the tote board, like he might not be sharp in his first start back, and it looked like he was ready to run turning into the stretch before the big 3 in that Gold Cup at Santa Anita just ran away from him. I'm hoping he needed that race. He'll be ready second off the bench, and I like him turning back to 1 1/8. The price will be right with Pavel, and I'll use him with Backyard Heaven. Let's move to the Distaff division with the Fleur de Lis Handicap. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis Handicap, a Breeders' Cup win-in-your-in race for the Distaff. $200,000 is the purse. We're going the Distaff distance of 1 1/8. For expanded stakes previews of all the graded races this weekend, head on over to video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, your morning line favorite on the far outside, the number 9 Farrell, has done well at Churchill Downs in the past. She got away with an easy lead last time out in the Grade 1 La Troyenne, and might be a little bit tougher this time around.
It does feel like there's a lot more pace in this race. I don't know how soft she's going to have it on the lead, and it feels like, to me anyway, if she's going to get 9 furlongs in a graded stakes race, she might need to back these fractions down a little bit to get there first at the end. I don't know if she's going to be able to do it in this spot. We're going to go back and look at a replay of her start 3 races ago. This is the Azeri at Oaklawn Park. Sort of a similar situation. She got to the front. She didn't take a lot of pressure on the lead in this race, and she's just no match here at the end of the day for an informed martini glass. You can see her. She's just sort of going up and down here the last 16th of a mile. Distance is a problem for this distance, especially 9 furlongs, if she's going to be taking pressure, and there's other speed in this race.
If Farrell gets hooked early by Apology Not Expected, one of the other speeds in this race, it might set things up for Valadorna, who took the measure of Apology Not Accepted last time out at Keeneland.
Yeah, the double dog dare, that's the replay we're going to take a look at right now. I think the thing about Valladorna that I'm most intrigued with is she's got a little bit of versatility. She can go to the lead or be close to it, or she can come from a few lengths off of it, as she did this day down at Keeneland. I have to admit, I'm a little bit concerned about the extra 16th of a mile pushing out to 1 1/8 miles, but I think she can get the jump on the deep closers.
Yeah, I thought she could too. I thought maybe she'd get a nice trip in this race, just sort of somewhere away from the pace. This win here, it's more game than anything else. It wasn't one of those victories that will blow you away, but she's a pretty good horse and she's still lightly raced. If you can take one more step forward here, I think she's tough.
Runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in 2016. Mark Cassie's gotten her good. She's won 3 out of her last 4. I'm going to go with Blue Prize in here, returning to the scene of the Fall City Handicap. Course, distance, she blew away that field that day. She really likes Churchill Downs. Let's go back to her most recent performance in the Allaire DuPont Distaff on Preakness weekend, and she's making the lead right now and opening things up, but as you see, she starts getting to wandering around, and I wonder if she's playing around once she made this easy lead, or whether she's actually starting to pay the price for going fast early. She dealt with Verb's Tail in the early portion of this race, took over the lead very early, and then just couldn't hold off the late run of Song of Spring, who was also in the Fleur de Lis. But I like the fact that Blue Prize really game fighting Song of Spring all the way down to the wire. The only part of the pace in the Allaire DuPont that was still in with a chance at the 16th pole. I think Blue Prize this time around is going to sit just off of the early leaders, the Farrells, the Apology Not Accepted, and maybe gets the jump on horses like Valladorna turning into the stretch. I'll take Blue Prize in the Fleur de Lis. J.K., Jonathan Kinchin's play of the day, a Santanita pick 5. David Aragona's Time Form U.S. Spotlight, the Dancin' Renee Stakes, the feature at Belmont on Saturday. Let's go to those segments right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to JK's Play of the Day. We're at Santa Anita Park. We're going to do a pick 5, early pick 5. Starting in race 1, we're going to use 3 horses, the 1, the 4, and the 7. The 1 horse was coming out of a split division of 3-year-old Calbred maidens a few weeks back down the hill. This was the faster of the races. This horse was cutting back in the last. I think the second time down the hill will be advantageous. I wish that they didn't draw the rail, but it's not a big deal. I think this horse can still get the job done. I'm going to use the 4, Writ Large. Okay, Writ Large was 75-1 on the same day, and the slower of the races still ran well in there. I would expect an improvement second off for that one. And then the 7, Thermopolis. That horse hasn't run in 317 days. Phil D'Amato can get one back fresh. I'm fading Sir Eddie here. Sir Eddie had the race 1 at the top of the stretch last time and didn't get the job done. Those aren't the type of horses I like to bet back. Going on to race 2, it's a 2-year-old maiden claimer. $50,000 maiden claimer. The horse that's probably going to take a lot of money in here is the 4, Keeson. The reason I wanted to play this bet is I'm going to try to beat that horse. Shipping in from Turfway Park was 75-1 in a stake. A lot of people are going to probably play the horse based on the fact that it ran in a stake last time, is now running for a tag. I'm going to try to do it with some new faces and some old faces. I'm going to use the 1, 2, 3, and 7. No strong opinion here on who I'm playing, but more who I'm playing against. Race 3 and 4 are going to be singles. The 4, River Boyne. That horse was a lot of people's strong opinion on Churchill Downs, running in the American turf on the Derby undercard. I think that getting back to a firmer surface, that one's going to be pretty tough in here. The 4, River Boyne. And then I'm going to use Anonymity, the 4 horse, making her third start, for Richard Mandela. Hasn't run in 258 days, but the races that this one has run have been super impressive. A small concern with Mandela kind of giving his horses a little bit of time and not really having them cranked for their first start, but I think this one lays over the field and it shouldn't be a problem. We'll single the 4 and the 4th leg. And then on to the final leg, another down the hill race. I'm going to use the 2, the 3, and the 5. The 2, Operandi, has a really big numbers. Obviously, that's one that makes a little bit of sense, but not enough that I trust. I'm going to use the 3, Wishful, and the 5, Helen's Tiger. Helen's Tiger ran well last time, got a little bit to run into, a little pace to run into, closed well. I think that one could be tough here. Not too much of a spread in the last 2, 3, 5. Good luck, and we'll see you next week.
Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona for this week's Time Form US Spotlight. We're going to be taking a look at the 9th race at Belmont on Saturday. It's the Dancin' Renee Stakes for older fillies and mares, New York breds, going 6 furlongs, and the horse to beat in this race is Holiday Disguise. She's the heavy favorite. We'll take a look at the whole though. There are 7 of these horses. Most of them aren't coming out of, tougher graded stakes races like Holiday Disguises, but there are a few up-and-comers in here that might have some ability. Let's jump over to the Timeform US Pace Projector. The horse that's predicted to be on the lead is Cozy Spring. She's pretty quick. Figures just had a pretty hot pace in this race. The Pace Projector is not predicting a fast pace per se, though, because the others just aren't quite quick enough to press her in the early going. And you see number 5, Holiday Disguise, the favorite. She's the one that's predicted to bring up the rear in the early going. And that's a bit of a concern for her, because if we jump over to Holiday Disguise's PPs, you'll see that she's a horse that typically travels farther distances than 6 furlongs. She's really kind of best going between 7 furlongs and a mile. She's gone as short as 6.5 before, but 6 furlongs seems like it's a little bit short for her. She's a horse that typically runs her best races when she's kind of up in a stalking position. She's rallied from further back in the past, but I'm a little apprehensive about betting her at a short price in this race, considering that she's going to have to try to do something for the first time. Overall, while she's kept the best company, she's a graded stakes winner. She accomplished that 3 back in the Distaff handicap. Her speed figures don't actually give her any kind of huge edge in this race. I mean, her typical Timeform US speed figure between 113 to 114, it just doesn't make her any kind of standout in here, even though she is probably a standout in terms of class. You see in her last race, the race rating box is color-coded dark blue. That's the box to the left of the race conditions. That indicates that a lot of horses that day at Belmont were making outside moves or closing, and the rail seemed like it was really not the place to be that day, and Holiday Disguise was very much with the flow of the racetrack, just kind of closing outside, running outside for the entire race. So I think that kind of, maybe exaggerated her performance a little bit. Don't get me wrong, she's the horse to beat, but there are some alternatives. The horse that I'm most interested to try to beat her with is the speed horse in this race, Cozy Spring. She's just really fast, and I know she's stepping up in class in this race, but she's run some competitive speed figures going, 3 and 4 back last year. She, winning her allowance races, ran speed figures that put her right in line with what Holiday Disguise has been running. She made a return to the races last time, and that's a race that's worth watching. You can actually watch the replay in Timeform US PPs now if you click on the date of the race right below that video icon in the past performances. You'll see that Joel Rosario was just kind of a little over-aggressively rating her in that race. He was really concerned about making sure that she didn't go too fast early because she is such a quick filly, and she just seemed a little bit upset by it. She was kind of throwing her head around in the early going, and by the time they got to the middle of the stretch, she had kind of let the rest of the field catch up to her, and a horse just kind of surprised her coming down the center of the track, and she really battled on gamely all the way to the finish, but just couldn't quite catch up with that horse who had gotten the jump on her. I think she's going to move forward off that race, and I think she's ready for the step up in class. She'll be tough trying to hold on to the lead in this race. Her stablemate, Absolutely, the horse who's drawn outside of number 7, I don't really know what to make of her. If she runs back to her race 3 back when she won the Iroquois, she's probably going to win this race, but that's the only race that she's really run that makes her any kind of standout in here. Her form kind of fell apart at the end of last year. Now she's coming off the layoff. She does have a series of improved workouts over the Belmont training track, but I'm still just not quite sure what to do with her. She's a bit of a wild card. You never know what you're going to get. I'll probably use her defensively. And then the other interesting horse to take a look at is Still There. She too is kind of a wild card in this race because we just don't know what we're going to get from a horse who's so lightly raced, but she's been impressive in her starts. She made her debut at Keeneland against Open Company and ran well there in a race that's a little bit better than it looks because she was kind of left at the gate and had to rush up. And then last time, I know it was an off-the-turf race and she wasn't facing much, but she was just utterly dominant that day and, won in a canter. She earned a 110 Timeform US speed figure, which is really not that much slower than the top fillies in this race are running. I'm not going to be shocked if she can take a step forward, but she's a lightly raced filly who's been, pretty impressive, so she's probably going to take some money in this race. If she's a similar price to Cozy Spring, I would prefer Cozy Spring as the one to take a shot with, kind of in the 4 to 5 to 1 range. So I'll be using the speed horse. Cozy Spring is my top pick and using her primarily with Still There and the favorite Holiday Disguise in Saturday's Dance and Renee Stakes at Belmont Park. Now let's send it back to the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Mike Beer, NYRA analyst, you've got something at beautiful Belmont Park.
Race number 7 is a 25 claimer for turf sprinters. Going to go 6 furlongs. I like our independence on the rail. There's a lot of pace in this race. He's got a very versatile running style as he ships into New York here off the claim. Let's look at his race 2 starts back at Gulfstream. He steadied in behind the leaders on the far turn, and here he is in the stretch. He's going to try and just force his way to the outside. There's a rival right there. He's going to knock into him a couple of times. That'll cause him to get disqualified, by the way. Here comes the winner down the outside. outside, the winner is a horse named Imprimis. He is undefeated, sprinting on the grass, so all 25 claimers are not created equal as far as our independence is concerned. I think he's in a better spot in this spot. He came back in his next race. He ran into Imprimis again. No dice with that horse. This is a much better spot, a very subtle class drop for this horse.
Matt, you followed the action at Tampa Bay Downs very closely over the winter, and you found a horse to bet back at Delaware on Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to go to race number 6, Barbaro's little sister. I've actually brought her up on this show in the past, and she's been unlucky in some certain circumstances. Her name is Madame Milan. We're going to take a look at her most recent start. Unfortunately, she just got bottled up in behind horses, and it's just one of those things. Down at Tampa, the turf was very speed-friendly throughout, and the way that this ride worked out, it didn't really work. I understand she's going to find a little bit of a seam late and come on with a little bit of late energy to finish second, but the problem is just that running style down there was never going to work. This was her first time with blinkers. I would have liked her to have gotten the opportunity to get clear a little bit sooner, probably not give up that sort of gap to the winner who ultimately got the jump on her. I think there's more there than we've seen so far. From Fig, she's a little bit slow, but I think you get a forward move, and she's 8-1 on Saturday.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to parlay Matt's winnings in that race to the very next race at Delaware, the Obeah Stakes for fillies and mares, the local prep for the Delaware Handicap, and I'm going to go with the number 11, Teresa Z. Last year, this barn took the blinks off of Teresa Z, and she responded with 2 victories, including a score in the Grade 3 Monmouth Oaks. And after that, she was thrown to the wolves. They ran her in the Cotillion, and then they ran her in her first start this year in the Madison. Both of those are Grade 1 races. She was 106-1 for a reason in the Madison, and she didn't run very well. Second time back, last time out at Monmouth, let's watch what happened in the Serena Song Stakes. It was the wet track, her first time over it. She is going to be swung extremely wide turning into the lane. A Place to Shine, who's in the Obeah, is going to cut the corner. Talk about ground loss for Teresa Z. Teresa Z is going to finish okay, though, to be third in her second start as a 4-year-old, and I think there's another forward move coming. Fast track expected at Delaware Park on Saturday, and perhaps most importantly, a fast pace. She is a mid-pack to late runner, but Teresa Z really has not run a bad race, other than those 2 Grade 1s, where she was completely overmatched. She's 6-1 on the morning line. She's a fair price at around 9-2 or so. That's Teresa Z in the Obeah at Delaware Park on Saturday. You're going to want to follow all of DRF TV's video offerings on Twitter at DRF Video, and for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority, follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. That's it for this week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.